Well, hello Panthers. I'm hoping that every one of you is doing well. You all are doing fine along with the members of your family. Also, if you do have any doubt regarding any point which was discussed earlier in the previous chapter, in this chapter, in the parliament, or if you all are self-studying and if you did cover some chapters on your own, and if you all have doubts in any such chapter, it may be of history, geography, maths, any subject actually. So you can just comment them in the comment section with your doubts. I'll be trying to answer all of them. Before moving on, we were doing the First World War, and while we were doing the First World War, we were done with the Treaty of Versailles. Now, the Treaty of Versailles did bring in a lot of territorial rearrangement. Many countries gained independence, many parts or many such mandates were given to England and France. Germany lost most of her colonies, and also, uh, well, USA was made, or USA came up as a world power after this First World War. Before this, USA was actually a very isolated. If you just look at the world map, you'll find that North America is a pretty isolated continent. And this isolation was broken after the First World War, and USA became a part of the world order and also became a major power in this world order. And this was a result of the First World War and the hand which USA had to play in the victory of the Allied powers in the First World War. But then, whenever there is a war, everyone wants to stop a war or not to have a war. There are a few people, there are a few factions, there are a few organizations which actually want war, but most of the people, they desist war, or they do not want war. Everyone wants to denounce war. Reason being that wars always bring along with it lots. Wars actually open the Pandora's box, as you may say. Wars bring up lots of casualties. Wars causes heavy damage to life, property, and also it disrupts the way of living. And that is why whenever there is a war, there are organizations which come up after that, which try to prevent, or which would want to prevent a war. And such an organization came up after the First World War also. This was the League of the Nations. The League of the Nation was actually a brainchild of the President of America, Woodrow Wilson. Brainchild means anything which is an idea or a person's idea actually. So Woodrow Wilson in his 14-point agenda had also mentioned as the last point the League of the Nations. League means a grouping, and Woodrow Wilson had understood America was a country which was a business nation, a capitalist country, and America's economy had been totally shattered, and the business which it was having, which was flourishing otherwise before the First World War, was put to a stop or a pause during the First World War. So America understood that for the growth of any country, or for the growth of its, or for its own growth, and for the growth of capitalism, or for the growth of business and the economy, war is actually detrimental for the growth of all these things. War brings down the growth. War pushes back a country, a nation, a continent, or the world by by so many years and decades. So America understood that war was never an option. So America wanted to make a grouping of nations, and so that there would be representatives of those nations in that group, and they would actually sit down and discuss and solve problems which they, or which might arise due to some differences, politically or ideological differences. But America wanted this League of the Nation. It was America's brainchild. The American president wanted this League of Nation to come up. But a very curious thing happened actually after the League of Nation was set up. After the League of Nation was set up, America did not join the League of Nation. Why didn't America join the League of Nations? Because America had faced the horror of the war in the First World War. And America knew. If you look at the map again, America is a very distant country, separate entity, you may say, the North American and the South American continent. They are totally separate from the other continents. And along with the Americas, we have Australia also. These are Americas, the South America, North America, and Australia. These are separate from the mainland parts of Europe, Asia, and also Africa. So, America did not actually want a part of the troubles which may arise in the European or in the Asian parts. So America wanted to isolate itself. America understood that uh, a war will actually push it back by so many years. So America did not want to take part in any other war after this. So America followed the policy of isolationism after the First World War. That is why it did not want to join the League of Nations so as to meddle in the affairs of the European countries. But then this was also a setback to the League of Nations and the setting up of the League of Nations, because one of the main countries, a major country, a major world power, and also the country which had propounded the idea of the League of Nations was being absent from the League of Nations. But then the League of Nations was set up. Germany was not allowed into the League of Nations at the behest of France. France did not want Germany to become a part of the League of Nations. Germany, but then Germany was, it came afterwards, but then in the starting years, Germany was not a part of the League of the Nations. Germany is not there, America not there. The League of Nations is a failure from the start itself, you may see. But then the League did try to solve a few problems. The League was successful in solving a few minor problems which did arise. But then the League of Nations, it was set up with an objective of, wait, let me just read out the objective. The objective says that to promote international cooperation and to achieve international peace and security. So this was the actual League of Nations objective, and there were other objectives also. The other objective being like maintaining the status quo of the countries, or maintaining the existing political and the nationalistic boundaries of the countries, the protection of national minorities, proper administration of the mandates which were set up under, or the mandates which were given to England and France. The administration of the mandate was also came on the League of the Nations, and dealing with the problems of health, social, and economic problems. Now, this League of Nations was not actually very successful. Yes, some parts of the League of Nations did survive later on, and one of those parts was the ILO, the International Labour Organization. But most of the parts of the League of Nations started crumbling a few years after its setup, because you can see over here the League of Nations did have the proper objectives, but it did not have the tooth. If you make, or suppose if you are making an army, but if you are not equipping your army so as to deal or fight with the enemy country, then the army is of no use. The League of Nations was set up, but the League of Nations never got any army of its own. The League of Nations the League of Nations only could advise nations, it could not enforce its decisions. So the League of Nations was in fact organization without any tooth, without any clawing power, or without any power to enforce a decision on some of the, or on the nations. Now that is why the League of Nations could not become a very successful organization, and the League of Nations in the mid 30s, it was still there, but then the usefulness of the League of Nations was already over during the mid 30s, 1930s, because Germany had started to raise its head up again in under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, something which we'll be discussing in the upcoming lectures, video lectures, or maybe in the class, who knows. But then please do read about the League of Nations, the Treaty of Versailles, and the reasons which led to the First World War. And do make up an idea, do read a few other books also, do search the online archives and the other articles which you do have, or which is there in the online portal. Please read about it and try to make a informed decision as to who could actually be blamed for the start of the First World War. Was it Germany? Was it Austria? Was it Russia? Was it England and France, or was it the mutual rivalries which was already existing in the European continent? And please keep on, or keep in touch with studies, keep in touch with yourselves, keep in touch with friends, family members properly. Do spend time, quality time with your family members, and also stay safe, be safe, keep on smiling, laughing, and being a bit productive. Thank you.